Good evening, happy weekend. Thank you guys for joining here for another Wine and FaceTime. It's your girl KFITNOW. Definitely have a little something here to sip. If you can see that, I have a green screen, so you probably can't see the best video. But thank you guys for being able to see my updates and knowing I'm going to go live at 9 versus 8 o'clock. So thank you so much. I actually took the liberty of trying to do my first protein and deep conditioner treatment since I've went blonde. So that's what really delayed me today. But let's get into it. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. Thank you guys for being here with me. It's 9 o'clock. We're going to jump right into it. You guys know, as always, I'm going to have the disclaimer in the description of the video, so I don't have to worry about, adding the actual video here. But good evening, Mr. Negron. How are you? Hope all is well with you. Thank you for taking the opportunity to say you want to be a part of the stream. I definitely will send you a link for the stream at some point before the stream ends, of course. But thank you so much. I'll definitely make sure I get that to you. So tonight's topic is all about what are pronouns. Pronouns are something we see a lot today. I've noticed in social media, work. These are things I'm seeing more and more. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people are educated about it. Some people are not educated about it. So again, I'll put the disclaimer out in the description of this video when it finishes via YouTube, so you guys can see that disclaimer, just to make sure that never offending anyone, as I said before. But I'll definitely throw the link to the stream out shortly for anyone who wants to be a panel guest. And I know Mr. Negron wants to be a panel guest, so I'll definitely add him in the stream in a few. But yes, that's what we're talking about tonight. What are pronouns? Do you know about them? So for me, honestly, personally, I did not know what pronouns were. I kind of still don't know what pronouns are. I've definitely been speaking to a few people, trying to, get information from other people. What does this really mean? For me, I think I have maybe the wrong identification of what a pronoun is. Maybe not the best description of it. So that's the purpose of tonight's stream. But again, before we get deep into it, please make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate that. I'm going to also write the topic in the chat right now. So this we're talking about pronouns. So anyone who knows about pronouns, please feel free to comment in the chat. Again, please make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. Really, really appreciate that. Good evening, Says and Satin. I'm happy you got the information from me that I'll be a little bit late tonight at 9 versus 8. Dealing and learning is here. That's what kept me up, whatever the case is. But busy weekend for me. How are you doing? Hope all is well. Mr. Negron too. Thank God you're good. Happy you're well. So for anybody who would like to join the panel, please feel free to do so. I'm going to actually copy the link now into the chat. And anyone who is watching or who is interested, who would like to join, has the liberty to do so. And you definitely have the liberty to provide your opinion, expertise, commentary, respectfully, of course. So that is the link for you to join if you'd like to join the panel. I know Mr. Negron said he would like to join, so please feel free to join the stream at any time. So tonight, what's going to be different for me is I'm going to actually use the share screen feature. I've never used the share screen feature. I'm going to use that feature tonight just to make sure I can actually do some research briefly and, see what comes up when we search what are pronouns. I definitely want to be able to do that. Zinfandel. I definitely had Zinfandel probably once or twice before. I think that's kind of more of a tart drink, not so much of a sweet one. Am I right or am I wrong? And that's white Zinfandel, right? I remember working on a circle line back in the day, and I used to be in a bar, and I was able to sell that to customers. So I do have my guest logged in, Mr. Negron, who's going to join the stream shortly. I see him backstage. I'm going to definitely add him to the stream pretty shortly. Hold tight, Jose. I'll be right with you. Thanks for showing me a bottle of, thanks for telling me what you have. I don't have Zinfandel. Oh, it's sweet? Very good, very good. Good evening, Mr. Negron. Good evening. How are you? Happy Saturday.
Good evening. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Thank you for joining the panel to provide your opinion or expertise or experience with tonight's topic of what are pronouns. I really appreciate you joining me.
Well, thank you. Basically, okay, this is how I see it. It's an attempt to identify oneself particularly when it comes to like gender roles, like such as he, she, her, him, and then you have certain individuals who sexual identity is not clearly defined. So it does pose a challenge regarding such evening, such individual. Good evening, Sutton Satin.
Very interesting. I was talking to my daughter about it. For everyone who doesn't know, I have a 23-year-old daughter. So I was speaking to her about it. I'm like, what are pronouns? I'm like, does that only, relate specifically to the LGBT community? Is that just something a specific population of people want to use to identify with? And according to her, she says no, pronouns are something that everyone can choose to identify and, claim they have and use. Almost like a surname, like we say Mr., Miss, or Mrs. So, for me, I still kind of don't get it and definitely want to be able to understand it and respect it and, not disrespect or offend anyone because I do see it more and more and more. Even at work, I see people have chosen to include in their signatures and their emails what their pronouns are. I recently did an update to one of my social media apps, and I've noticed that pronouns were now in the profile section of my social media. So as I can update my status and my photo and what I'm about as an entrepreneur, there was also an option to include pronouns. And each time I saw that, I'm like, okay, this is something I'm seeing. And the third time I saw this was actually when I was actually applying to jobs online. I noticed a lot of jobs online for the online applications. Pronouns are, implemented in the form or the template. So I'm like, wow, I really don't know what this is. And I'm seeing this more and more and more. Like, I want to have a conversation about this, because I can be very narrow minded or one track minded sometimes or not choose to explore certain topics. But I'm like, this must mean something more than what I'm giving it credit for. So thank you again, Jose, for joining the panel to discuss your opinion about, what you think it means. And I just want to be transparent and not offend anyone. But, my initial thought was that it was for, people of the trans or LGBT community to be able to say how they want to be identified specifically. I didn't think of it as something that all people, depending, despite what your sexual orientation may be or how you identify yourself, it would be that only classification of people. So can you give me some feedback, Jose, as far as your experience and how you initially thought of it, or did you always know and understand what it was from day one?
As I indicated, usually is a type of gender identification. We're living in an age where you do have individuals who they may appear to be female, but wish to be addressed as male or prefer to be addressed as undefined. I mean, that is the nature of our society. And one thing, my agency, which is HRA, that one thing that they stress diversity, accept people with various gender roles. So, it can be a little bit confusing, particularly if you base everything on biology, meaning I'm male and you're female.
Very true. Just like we were speaking about recently on your stream when you had a few panel guests, we were talking about, I forget the specific topic, but we were talking about something and it kind of went into gender identity, but we kind of cut it off and said it would be a topic for another stream. But definitely want to be respectful to all communities, cultures, races, populations of people, but definitely want to understand it more as well too, and not, mistreated or abused or not respected, because obviously this is in all walks of life. These are people at work who choose to identify with these pronouns. These are people in school, in our neighborhoods, and of course you want to be respectful at all times and not offend anyone, but to understand someone's lifestyle and how they, want to be treated or, approached or respected or, initiate a conversation with them is important if you care about the individual. So I felt like, again, an important topic to discuss because, you don't know what you don't know. That's something I say a lot now because sometimes, we learn things later on in life or maybe a little bit slower, or, you just may not know because you don't entertain a certain genre or population or environment of people. So it just may be out of bounds to you. So I say all that to say that, I know a lot of other people probably may have thought the way I thought. Maybe it's only for this specific population of people, but some people may feel it's for everyone. So, I wonder sometimes, will pronouns be something that will become more broadened? Will they go beyond he,
I,
she, her, them, they?
well, I think one thing, if there's any question how to address individuals, one perfect way is just to simply ask them how they wish to be addressed. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In fact, what you're doing is that you're acknowledging the fact that you wish to in the in a gender that they identify, or if they don't identify themselves as a particular gender. So I think it's when approaching a person and you're not sure on how to properly address them is to simply ask them.
Right. And that's the mistake I made. I it went totally over my head and I took it not as how someone wants to be addressed, but more of internally how they feel and want to be identified, which I guess is somewhat on some line kind of similar but not similar. So I'm happy to have this discussion tonight to be able to have a better understanding of it. I actually want to take a moment to read a comment I see in the chat from Susan Satin. She says, "It's my understanding that some people want to be referred to as he, she, or even they or them for those who don't want to be considered male or female." Okay. And I think that's why I kind of took it as in the whole people not wanting to be associated or identified as woman or man. I think for me, that's why I assumed it only related to a certain population of people, but didn't really want to say that so much and again offend someone or just, seem ignorant to not understanding what the concept really means. But I think that's how I kind of got a little bit mixed up about what it really means because I think I based it based on a person not wanting to be identified as a gender only.
Well, I think about 2 weeks ago with my agency, we had like a 4-part training program as regarding to transgender individuals. And that can cause some confusing right there because first of all with individuals, some of them their sexual identity is not clearly defined, and then you have those that are in the position of choosing between one sex to another sex. And the whole point is of the training was to just to deal with this individual and show them the proper respect that all individuals deserve.
I appreciate that you said that because I do remember taking that training as well as several other trainings that were urgently needed by a certain specific date that they stressed us to take. And I remember while taking that specific training, there was so many things I learned that I was actually confused. My mind was so closed off to what I thought about, you know, the population of people, we are kind of discussing at this point, and there were so many different characteristics and identifications of groups that I never even heard of. And I'm like, wow, this is a lot to take in. And I even took a training thereafter about some type of discrimination about people's hair, how they wear their hair, dreadlocks and afros, and people choosing to look a certain way. Like it was a sensitivity training pretty much, but I was like, okay, I guess it's interesting that city agencies want to make sure that people are kind and knowledgeable about, respecting different cultures and backgrounds and expressions of people. I guess that's a great thing because if not, that could be chaotic when people don't for ignorant reasons. So that was a good training to take at work. And I definitely remember the training you're talking about.
Mhm. Well, part of the problem is we have people that need to be educated as far as different types of individuals. And then unfortunately, you have certain assumptions that are made, particularly when it comes to the LGBTQI plus community. And, and you have to deal with it, and you also have to deal with a certain amount of bigotry. And it's a shame that here in 2022, we're still dealing with a lot of the issues that's been going on for several decades.
Yeah, that's really sad. We see progress in certain areas, but no progress in other areas. And I think it's really big and important to like, not get too, over obsessed with either, but just to have your faith and, hope and pray that we can get stronger, united together to make realistic change. So all the issues we need to be, dealt with as a community, as a group, as a population, are eventually handled. But I think some people even pose issue with certain particular groups being able to get certain rights and reparations and respect that other groups can't. And that's definitely not a topic for this conversation tonight. But I know some people feel that, example, the LGBT community may have received a lot of success in recent times as far as, being able to have gay marriages, being able to have, the option to adopt a child if you're a same sex, gay couple. So they have had a lot of recent, I guess, accolades or merits or, rights given to them that they probably would not have been given before. And to each his own, they respect, they should get whatever they should, such as every other culture and group, that should rightfully have the moral respects of human rights and, that nature. But I think I would like to talk about that on another stream at some point. I just have to figure out how I would target it so it's not, considered negative or disrespectful to anyone. But I think that's a really interesting, conversation at a later point in time as well too. And
I think the key is whenever you discuss a topic that appears to be controversial, you need to just give all the facts. I mean, my channel, I dealt with the issue of feminine um, toxic, women who are toxic, and then also dealing with the issue with white supremacy, also dealing with the issue of depression. When it comes to controversial topics as such, the key is to be factual, not to be judgmental, but simply give the facts. And of course, giving disclaimers is very important. When I did my 3 part series on toxic femininity, which 2 parts in English and 1 part in Spanish, I stated multiple times that not all women are toxic. Some are, some are not. And when it comes to white supremacy, not all white people are racist. Some aren't.
absolutely, that's a valid point. I'm definitely, realizing depending on what I'm talking about, I'm gonna have to do some thorough research or get some people with some expert, commentary, valid opinions, to talk about certain things and definitely make sure that the disclaimer is always up and visible so, everyone can have that out there and reiterate it a few times throughout the stream so people realize, or take heed to what I'm saying, and they don't, think I'm, being one sided or too judgmental, in any way as well. But I think it's really interesting to see that, at the end of the day, things are changing, trends, times, life, we're going through hard times and people are still depressed. Some people are, doing things about their depression to not be depressed, certain people are just continue to pick up with life and move forward and pretend like nothing has happened. But I know a lot of us are ready to be out of this pandemic situation, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if we're in it, out of it, paused on it, whatever the case is. But I think it's really important for us to get, try to get back to having that normal life. Stop living in this bubble we're living for the most part. Because I feel like, we're just missing the social interaction of things. And, maybe that could be clouding some people's judgment when it comes to simple things like, what we're talking about today. Just not being out, having exposure, you just lack what you don't know. And can be judgmental just because you see it on social media. Sometimes what we see on social media is not always accurate, and for me, I saw it first on social media, the comment of pronouns. A lot of my followers, they have it in their bios as well, and I didn't really know how to approach them to ask them what it meant. So again, the comment and topic for tonight, talking about pronouns, really interesting because I have a lot of different people who briefly told me what they feel it's about. So I'm definitely logged in and tuned in now that, it has a lot to do about how one chooses to identify or be, identified. So I'm definitely getting that and I'm happy to understand that as well. So now I feel a little bit more comfortable when I'm around people, who choose to, be identified by their pronoun. So that's really interesting for me. So have you had the engagement with people who choose to be identified by a specific pronoun?
Well, in my situation, we don't have any contact with clients,
Okay.
direct contact anyway. So basically, with my coworkers, everyone's address is he or she. Um, Now, as far as dealing with people, I mean, for the most part, I have never had to ask them uh, how they wish to be addressed. It's understood that everyone is identifying as male or female. However, we're living in society where you have different types of individuals and different manners of identification, uh, not just as far as the he, she, or they. You have certain other labels, like African American, Afro Latino, Latino American, um, and uh, Afro Latino or Hispanic. So you can go on for hours discussing the different types of how people wish to be labeled, and it will have nothing to do with biology.
Right. I could say I want to be called Queen Princess KFIT, you know. I could be really extreme, or some people can be extreme, calling themselves master, So can a master be a man only? Could it be a master woman? I guess it could be endless.
Yeah. And another issue is, and this is going to be some people consider very controversial, as far as gender roles. Um, that's changing. You have not all women. I want to make that perfectly clear. But you do have some women that have masculine tendencies. We have some men who have feminine tendencies, and you have some women who want to be men, and then they're brought up with the philosophy being the boss babes and what have you, and that they don't need a man until the day comes when they need someone to give them a lift or need someone to help do some chores and what have you. Again, not all women fall into that category, and not all men fall in the other category. But it's the fact of the matter is gender roles are changing, and then you have certain individuals that want their significant others to perform their traditional roles, but yet they don't want to perform their traditional roles as well.
That's a great comment and great topic too to talk about for sure, because gender, roles have changed. They're now blended with the trends and, the times we're in, So like you said, we have the boss babes and the independent women and, the women who feel they don't need a man, only for certain times of needs and itches and scratches, and the same thing with men, vice versa. And, you're kind of seeing more and more people. Yeah, people still getting married and stuff like that and dating and, having casual sex or whatever. But for the most part, you see a lot more people, just being free and not rushing into the fact of marriage and stuff like that, and just, living their little best lives, whatever you want to call it, or, taking it easy. And, they're not putting pressure on being what their parents were sometimes, or, they're taking it, day to day how they want to, not trying to be stuck or locked into a certain title or relationship or, you know, regular thing you may call it, situationship, romantic ship, whatever. And other people are still sticking to those traditional roles, even as times change around us with all this casual free sex and gender identity and whatever you want to call it, not trying to offend anyone, but I definitely feel that in 2022 sexuality is just very out there and vivacious and over sensualized everywhere.
Well, one of the issue that that we encounter is what's called the 304 culture, when when you have certain women that have engaged in casual intercourse with multiple men, and then all of a sudden, usually when they're in their late 30s, approaching 40, all of a sudden they're thinking about getting into a meaningful relationship and hopefully marriage. The problem is that once you've been living a certain lifestyle for a considerable length of time, it's very hard to break out of that mold.
Yeah, very true. Old habits die hard, and sometimes you may not have values or morals in a younger age, and you may get older and your morals and values and your standards changed a bit, so your lifestyle becomes a little bit different. Or sometimes you have an influence earlier on in life and you don't have it on later on in life, and you spiral or you do something different. And that's a topic too. Sometimes you're not taught how to value and appreciate yourself and honor yourself, or whatever you call, or treat yourself as a temple, and you don't really put much time and attention into hookups and casual things like that. And when you want something really serious and sacred, it's difficult for whatever reason, versus for physical purposes or trust value issues, or just not having that and not knowing what that feels and looks like and how that works because you haven't been in it.
Well, part of the problem is, and this is not a knock regarding single mothers, but I mean, when you have children raised by single parents, you know there is a, there are issues involved, because the fact of the matter is you do need a positive male influence and a positive female influence. Now, I don't mean necessarily that they both have to be married, but the fact of the matter is that a child needs a role model, a positive role model from a male and a positive role model from a female. Because unfortunately, when in household when that it's not there, um, what you're going to find is that you're going to see people that are going to find trying to fill that void in others. Whenever women do not have a father image, they're going to try to find it in another man. And when um, there's no positive female image, they're going to try to find it in a woman. So, and I'm not saying that everyone is is capable of marriage, but if you're going to have children, and even if you're not together, try to to be involved in the child's life.
Definitely. That's a hot topic for sure. Single mothers and and children without both parents in the household, cohabitating, co-parenting, living separately, paying child support, and all these different dynamics of children in the household with both parents, without both parents, deceased parents, living with grandparents. There's so many dynamics with all of that to be said as well. But yeah, they do suffer, and sometimes people are immature and get themselves in situations where the child definitely suffers because the situation wasn't solid to begin with, or you know, you didn't really know the person you were with really, for who they really were, and now it can't even be savaged, and now a child may be involved hypothetically. So these times are different. I definitely feel like this generation, they have a lot to deal with. I know I'm a millennial, and there's some rumors about the millennials, but I definitely feel like I have an old soul, old spirit. I don't feel like I act and move like all the millennials in every way. And I say that just to say, as far as the casual sexuality and free spiritedness of identity roles and cultures and times. I don't feel like I fit into all of those things, but definitely respect people that fit into all of those things, and definitely don't want to offend any of those people, because for the most part, I feel like some of the best times I've had with friends, going out at work, has been with a specific community of people. And I would relate that specifically to people of that community. Some of the best friends I've had, some of the most fun times I've had, both male and female people of this group, and even at work. Do you have any commentary you would like to add to that?
Yeah, actually, as far as the millennials, that's a topic that was discussed on my channel. Trying to dispel some of the myths regarding the millennials, and unfortunately, myths die hard. In fact, this week I was trying to discuss with a coworker certain myths regarding the millennials, and unfortunately, she's in the mindset that all millennials are spoiled, that they don't want to work hard, they're not taking things seriously. And I try to explain to them that, first of all, not all millennials are the same. And unfortunately, what happened is you have people of who are Generation Z are often mixed, confused for millennials. And the fact of the matter is, a lot the issues that millennials deal with, um, other generations have dealt with it as well. What's different is the approach that some millennials take as compared to some Generation X or baby boomers.
Yes, I agree. I feel like there's a different patience and maturity and understanding level and a communication level with, millennials and Generation X on that specific topic. And just the way the mindset is of both groups actually too, and I'll use my mom for example. She was born in 1962, so I think she's what, Gen
She's a
X-ish?
baby boomer.
She's a baby boomer?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I was born in '62.
She is she's definitely not a fan of the community. But she has friends, but she's always like, they better not come at me with that. I don't like that. I don't play that. As long as you keep it to yourself, that's fine. But don't address me that way. Don't get fresh with me. Like, she never wants to be played with in that way. Like, she has friends and she hangs out with them, whatever. But she feels very strong minded about people trying to like be flirtatious with her, and being like too touchy feely when it comes to that specific group. And she's always like, I like men and I don't do that and I'm strictly this and don't try to do that to me. Like she's really, really strong about it. But not to the point where it's like an hatred, but to the point where we can be friends, we're cool, but don't cross the line. Like she's very, very stern with that.
Well, let's keep it clear when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community. You have different types of individuals within that community. Now, I do have certain disagreements. One of them being that they're born with with particular sexual orientation. But basically, I just believe in live and let live. All I ask is not to impose your philosophy or doctrine or whatever down my throat. That will be the same regardless whether it be the LGBTQ plus community or any other group.
Absolutely. Like I remember as a kid, I only knew about in school they would say heterosexual, transsexual. These are like the gender identity or gender classifications I remember hearing about in school. It was um gay, straight, lesbian, they would say, or they would say mean things like dyke and stuff like that. We don't use those words anymore, but there weren't that many. You were either gay, you were straight, or you were bisexual. I didn't really learn about transsexual and all these other pansexual identifications until much recent. Like within the last 5 years, I've started hearing about these things and learning about what it meant to be transgendered. Like these were not things I knew about as a kid in the 80s and the 90s. These are things I heard about within the last 5 years or so. And to me, it's really interesting. And again, I respect everyone who feels they are not who they are and they want to make a change and do something else or be something else to make them feel complete. I think everyone should do that, no matter what that means, whether that's you having physical surgery to look a different way or you taking pills or creams, like whatever you want to do to feel good within yourself, you should be able to do that without anyone judging you. But for me, just to be transparent, like I only knew of a certain classification. And as of 2022, I'm learning about all these different identifications and I learned about a lot in the training I recently took with you. It was a DCAS training, I think, or like an online work training. There was so many more sexual identifications besides lesbian, heterosexual, and gay. I can't even remember some of them, and they all had specific terms and what they meant, and they were all based on gender roles or gender identity or how they want to be identified. I'm like, I need this course a few more times. I'm gonna need this about 3 times, 3 times a year to make sure I remember. It was kind of overwhelming for me.
Well, the fact of the matter is, one needs to be mindful that you're gonna have people that gonna identify themselves in multiple ways, and the key is to be a little bit knowledgeable and acknowledge the fact that you have people who identify themselves in different fashions, and just respect their individual choices. Again, it's perfectly fine as long as no one imposes one's belief or one's philosophy on other people.
Right. I think the naive part of me that I know I have a naive little part of me, I'll admit that. I do have gay friends and relatives in my family who I speak to regularly, and I never heard them ask to be addressed by a pronoun. Not that I asked them to. Again, pronouns is something I'm just learning about in 2022. I did hear about it in 2019 vaguely. I was working in the hospital through a temporary agency, and I was working on 23rd Street in the HIV clinic. And every patient who checked in the clinic, they had to be addressed by pronouns. And I didn't really take it serious on what it was and how important it was, but they didn't keep me. I definitely was cut from the contract. I didn't make the cut And probably for that, maybe because I wasn't as sensitive as I needed to be about respecting and understanding and being educated on pronouns, or maybe it just wasn't a good fit, or maybe it wasn't my time. I don't know, but that was really the first time I heard of it, but I really didn't give it a lot of attention until again 2022. I see it everywhere, and the people I do know from this community, in my family, friends, I've never heard them asked to be addressed that way, but I've never asked them how they wanted to be addressed as well. So, I guess it's a communication issue for me, or, just, immaturity or maybe some naiveness to, the specifics of it. And that's why I want to have this one at FaceTime tonight, just to get some more clarity and transparency on everything.
Well, I think what you need to do is be exposed to these individuals to have a deeper understanding who they are. I mean, you can learn from training, but learning from the training is not the same as the is one-to-one contact.
That makes sense. That definitely does, for sure.
Yeah, that is true, and what complicates things is the change is also changing gender roles. And you do have women who want to be equal to men. Now, let's make it clear. There are many roles that women can perform that just as well as men or even better. But there are certain roles that men are more physically able to perform. I mean, for example, you're not going to see women working as construction workers operating a drill. Um, you know, you don't see too many women working as electricians. I'm not saying they cannot do it, but it's just the reality that these are fields you mostly go to see men because for whatever reason, whether it be maybe because they don't feel comfortable or they don't feel capable, or maybe there's no opportunities for women to join these fields.
That's true. Whenever I see a woman truck driver, or, a woman in a man's dominated field, I always have that feeling, wow, look at that. A woman, you go girl. I always have that feeling because, we still do identify with gender roles, and, we see more men with certain things versus women, but you do see a spot or two of women in certain areas where you normally wouldn't, so times still are changing, but at the end of the day, women are saying they can do anything men can do. Men are saying they can do anything women can do, literally, So I guess it goes both ways. It kind of makes you feel like, what will gender look like 10 years from now?
Uh, it'll probably be something different because gender roles are forever changing, and one consequence as far as the gender roles is you have more American men are going overseas to try to find a significant other because unfortunately they're not able to deal with American women. Um, that some women, and again, some have very unrealistic expectations regarding men.
I think it's men too. I think men sometimes have really unrealistic expectations of women sometimes too. Like you said before, there are some men that want the traditional, woman, wife, but they don't want to be the traditional man, husband, whatever the case is.
Mhm. Well, I think part of the key is you need to clearly define what you're looking for in a relationship. In fact, on tomorrow's stream on my channel, I'm going to be discussing how could you ruin a romantic relationship. I mean, what are some of the things that can cause a romantic relationship to go south?
I will definitely be tuned in. Depending on what time it is tomorrow, we're going to Jersey. But if it's the regular 8, 7, 8, 9, I'll definitely be tuned in.
Well, then I guess you'll probably catch it on the replay then. This is
What? Wow, what time is it gonna come on?
6 o'clock.
Okay, well, I'll try my best to be all in there on my phone, the best I can.
Okay. Well, you see, in this case, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sharing my personal experiences regarding what can damage a romantic relationship. One of the things that can definitely damage a relationship is not clearly defining what you're looking for in a partner.
Amen to that.
Okay.
I got one too, looking at the physical and only the physical.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. Okay. But let's keep it real. I mean, men and women to a certain extent are very physical. We are very physical. We do pay a lot of attention on the physical. The physical will make us attractive. However, it's the other things that keep us in a relationship, in a serious relationship. Like for example, do we have similar values? Do we have similar goals? Do we have similar beliefs? Are we able to communicate with each other and be mindful of the other person's feelings?
I want to read some comments in the chat. I've been neglecting. I see Sus and Satin has posted some more comments. She says at 9:31, I think that people who use different pronouns would definitely disagree with you on that. And I'm not sure if that was regarding what I was saying prior or was it regarding her first comment. She says, it is my understanding that some people want to be referred to as he, she, it, or even they or them for those who don't want to be considered male or female. I'll definitely have her comment back again what that second topic comment was relating to. And she also says, men are visual. Yes, you men, Nerone, Mr. Nerone, representing the men out there today. Men are visual. You guys will see a woman, right in front of you, and you'll just be looking her up and down like a piece of steak, like she's a shish kebab with all kind of juice dripping off of her. It's just like the tiger look, like the hungry dog with the drool.
Okay, no, actually, she was referring to Wallace, my commentary.
Oh, something you were saying. She said she was referring to.
Yeah. Um, everyone's
Cousin
entitled.
Satin, can you tell us exactly what you're talking about? Exactly what exactly he said? Because I don't remember now.
Well, everyone's entitled to their personal opinions.
Absolutely, and that's
So
the
it
rules of the
so
street.
so so it's okay. But the reality is this. I mean, for many of us, the first thing we check to is the exterior. I mean, okay, I see when.
Oh, okay, so that's a side. I get it. You said when he was talking about families needing a mother and a father. Okay,
Okay,
thank you. I see what you mean. I remember now exactly what you were talking about.
well, actually, I was referring to they needed a male figure and a female figure,
Mm.
a positive male figure, because we're all due respect. Each child does need a positive male influence and a positive female influence. I mean, unfortunately, part of the problem is that um, when you have single parents, and again, I'm not blasting single parents because there are men who are single fathers just as well. It's just that it gets harder uh, when there is no positive male influence or female influence.
Absolutely, for sure. Some of us, we just dealt a raw deck. Some of us get both. Some of us get neither. Some of us get one. Some of us grow up with grandparents, but I definitely feel like you're right about needing both positive, not just having both, but positive role models.
Hmm.
And sometimes we don't get that. Sometimes we get one positive parent. Sometimes
Yeah.
we get neither one of them are positive. It's the grandparents or the aunts or uncles are the positive ones. Okay, Cousin Sad has a few more comments. Guys, if you're joining me live or you're catching the replay, please make sure you follow Suds and and Uncommon Sense with Jose Negro. Thank you, I appreciate it. Suds and Satin says, I was talking about families needing a mother and a father. I know I agree, but there are a lot of people who do not believe that. Now that genders are so fluid, people don't believe in traditional male, female, mother, father. Mm,
Some people don't. There are those that do. So,
right. There's so many opinions out there now. Like everything is just so loose and so vague. There's so many new terminologies and understandings and ways to identify. And this can just keep going on and on and on. Like this can just go on forever as far as explaining how people, want to express and identify and recreate different gender roles or extend roles. I guess again, like I said, 5 years from now, 4 years from now, 3 years from now, it's gonna look different.
mhm.
It's not going to just be what it was when our parents came up. It's not going to be what it is right now. It's going to continue to change, I guess, like trends in fashionable clothes and music almost.
I think the key is to be mindful that everybody wishes to identify oneself in whatever way that one feels comfortable, and just be mindful of that.
Absolutely. It's just about being mindful, being educated, being aware, and being respectful. That's how, things happen when you're not those easily understood and mindful and is considered a hate crime or considered being, immature or misunderstood or confused. So we just have to, do what you said, be mindful, be educated, be aware, and just ask people, how do you want to be identified? Don't assume because of how someone looks on appearances. You have to ask, you have to build that understanding and relationship and comfort zone to just be clear because you never know when you're offending someone or disrespecting someone just by, you know, looking at the cover of the picture or just looking at something at face value. It's not about that anymore.
Mhm. Well, the reason why we have such thing as hate crimes is because unfortunately you have certain individuals that have been targeted for physical assault, discrimination, because they wish to identify themselves in a particular fashion. Like for example, unfortunately, you have transgender individuals that have been physically assaulted due to the fact that some people cannot accept their gender identification. Unfortunately, you have members of the transgender segment of our community have been assaulted or even killed simply due to the fact that they choose to identify themselves in a manner that some people do not accept.
Yes, that's a great topic to discuss respectfully. A realistic situation that's been happening for decades. And definitely something that needs more visibility and support and guidance. I don't know how it can be done on a worldwide basis or overall basis, but that's definitely an issue and something that needs to be addressed. Happily, mental health awareness is being taken more seriously now, but we still need more work on that as well for
Mhm.
people that fit into that category of pressure and situations and dynamics. But something we need to work on for sure as a whole. And it's unfortunate that people are mean and angry to that extent to do those horrible things, and that does happen everywhere. And hopefully one day things will be a lot more calmer and rational, where everyone will be treated equally, no matter skin tone, race, gender identification, roles, no matter what. There'll be these little stupid hate crimes for like the dumbest things. That'd be the perfect world, the great world, of course.
Well, I think the key is to raise our children to accept people for whom they are, because they are our future. Um, if we do not educate our children on how to accept people regardless of their identity, this cycle is going to continue.
Yeah, I can see that too. Because what you learn as a child sticks with you as an adult, and you can pass that on generation to generation. So that's very important. Um, but as times change, I guess we'll have to continue to just have these conversations just to make sure we're aware and on board too.
Hmm. Well, I think the key is, as long as we continue to accept people for who they are and not we want them to be. Um, that's going to play a huge role in trying to address some of these wrongs.
Absolutely, for sure. Mr. Negron, thank you so much for being a panel guest on my show tonight. Any last
Well,
words you want to speak before I wrap it up really quickly?
well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on your panel. I just want to let people know that I do have a channel of my own called Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron, where we discuss various different topics and we have mature conversation. Right now, I'm going live on Sundays at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Also, I would encourage everyone to please subscribe to Thoughts and Satin. She has an interesting channel. In fact, I'm going to be interviewing her on my platform early next month.
Woohoo! Yes, I love to hear that. I think I'll be getting a guest interview with her as well on my show on Facebook. So yes, I'll be definitely promoting and sharing her ad before I get it done to everyone too. Good
So,
stuff. Thank you, Mr. Negron. Have a great evening. I'm gonna check with you tomorrow at 6 the best I can because that's a
well,
good.
if you can't, well, like I said, if you can't make it, you can always catch it on the playback.
No problem. I'm gonna put you in the back and you can,
Thank you.
check out. Have a great evening. Have a good weekend, Mr. Negron.
You too.
Bye bye. Everyone, please make sure you join and log and check in with Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. He has several days a week. He does different variations of videos. He streams in English, he streams in Spanish. He often has several panel guests. They have great topics. I've been I think I've got a chance to do 2 or 3 live videos with him on his platform, and they were really, really great. I had a lot of fun with him, and I got to meet some other people as well. So definitely make sure you follow him on Common Sense with Jose Negron. Also, especially please make sure you follow Suds and Satin on YouTube. She has a very interesting creative channel where she does different types of videos on the products she makes and sell. All natural, all smelling good, all beautiful. She showed you step 1 to step 9, and it's so, so interesting. So thank you guys for all the love and support. I'm at 25 subs right now. Super excited about that. Definitely want more subs, but in time I'll get there. Be safe. Make sure you wash your hands, sanitize, social distance, wear the mask. No matter what no one says, we're still in this pandemic. It's really true. Take care, guys. Have a great evening. Peace out. Until next time, I'll be checking with y'all later. It's been so real. I'm looking for my nice handy dandy video where I can check out and leave you guys that look super professional. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you may see it.